What if there were objects in the Bible so dangerous that touching them meant death? Not spiritual death. Not symbolic death. Actual, physical, recorded death. Sometimes of one man. Sometimes of an entire family. Sometimes of a whole city struck with plague. 5 objects appear across the Old Testament that carried what the Hebrew Bible calls cherem, a mark of divine destruction. Some were pagan. Some were golden. And one of them, the most shocking one on this list, was made by Moses himself on God's direct orders. That one still had to be destroyed. Stay with me. By the end of this video you will know what these 5 objects were, who touched them, and what happened to every single person who did. And the last one will change the way you think about things in your own life that you've been holding on to for too long. Let's start with the one that cost 36 soldiers their lives. Because one man could not keep his hands to himself. The book of Joshua chapter 6. The walls of Jericho have just fallen. The Israelites have marched around the city for 7 days, the trumpets have blown, and the walls have come down flat. It is one of the most famous military victories in the entire Bible. But God gives a command before anyone sets foot inside. Everything in this city is cherem. That Hebrew word, cherem, does not simply mean cursed. It means devoted to God for destruction. It means this belongs to me. Do not take it. Do not hide it. Do not bring it into your tent. Every man heard that order. A man named Achan heard it too. Achan from the tribe of Judah. And when he walked through the rubble of Jericho, he saw 3 things. A beautiful Babylonian garment, 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold weighing 50 shekels. The text says he coveted them. He took them. He dug a hole under his tent and buried them. Nobody saw it. Nobody knew. The army moved on. The next battle was a small town called Ai. It should have been easy. Joshua sent about 3,000 men. And they were routed. Chased down the slope. 36 Israelites killed. The text says the hearts of the people melted and became like water. Joshua fell on his face before God, tore his clothes, said, "Lord, why did you bring us across the Jordan just to let us be destroyed?" And God's answer was blunt. Israel has sinned. They have taken what is cherem. They have stolen and lied and hidden it among their own belongings. That is why your men cannot stand before their enemies. Read that again slowly. 36 men died. Not because the army of Ai was stronger. Not because the strategy was wrong. Because one man buried a garment and some gold under his tent. One man's hidden object brought judgment on an entire nation. God tells Joshua to go through the tribes by lot. Tribe of Judah. Clan of the Zerahites. Family of Zimri. And then, man by man, Achan is singled out. Joshua looks him in the face and says, "My son, give glory to the Lord God of Israel and tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me." Achan confesses, "I saw, I coveted, I took." In that order. The eye, then the heart, then the hand. They brought the garment, the silver, and the gold out from under the tent. And then Achan, his sons, his daughters, his oxen, his donkeys, his sheep, his tent, and everything he owned were taken to the valley of Achan. And all Israel stoned them. 1 garment, 1 bar of gold, an entire family erased. That is what cherem means. You don't steal from God and walk away clean. 1 man, 1 tent, 1 hidden object, and 36 soldiers who never came home because of it. That was object number 1. But the next one is worse. Because the next object was not hidden under a tent. It was captured as a war trophy by an entire nation. And it fought back. I spend weeks in these old texts so you don't have to. If something here is making you think, a quick like helps this reach more people who care about what's actually in the Bible. That's it. Now back to the story. 1 Samuel chapter 4. The Israelites go to war against the Philistines and lose badly. 4,000 dead. The elders panic and say, "Let us bring the Ark of the Covenant from Shiloh, so that it may save us." So they bring the Ark to the battlefield. The soldiers shout so loud the ground shakes. The Philistines are terrified. They say, "God has come into the camp. Woe to us." But they fight anyway. And they win. 30,000 Israelite soldiers fall. And the Philistines capture the Ark of the Covenant. Now think about what just happened. Israel treated the Ark like a lucky charm. A weapon. A thing. And God let it be taken because the Ark was never the source of power. God was. The object without the relationship meant nothing. But the Philistines were about to learn a different lesson. Because the Ark was not a trophy either. They carried it to Ashdod. Put it in the temple of Dagon their god. Set it right next to Dagon's statue, like a captured prisoner kneeling before a king. Next morning the priests walk in. Dagon is face down on the floor. In front of the Arkansas. They pick him up. Set him back. Next morning, Dagon is on the floor again. But this time his head is cut off. Both hands severed, lying on the threshold. Then the tumors came. The text says God's hand was heavy on the people of Ashdod. Tumors broke out across the city. They panicked. Sent the ark to Gath. Tumors in Gath. Sent it to Ekron. The people of Ekron screamed, "They have brought the ark of the God of Israel to kill us." 5 Philistine cities. Plague, panic, death. They finally sent the ark back on a cart pulled by 2 cows, with golden tumors and golden rats as guilt offerings. And even then, when the ark reached Beth-Shemesh and the Israelites there looked inside it, God struck 70 of them dead. The ark did not care whose side you were on. If you treated it as a thing instead of a threshold to the living God, you paid for it. Object number 3. This one was not taken from an enemy. It was built by God's own people with their own gold, while Moses was on the mountain receiving the commandments. Exodus chapter 32. Moses has been on Mount Sinai for 40 days. The people get restless. They go to Aaron, Moses' own brother, and say, "Make us gods who will go before us." This Moses, the man who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what happened to him. Aaron collects their gold earrings. Every ring, every piece, melts them down and casts a golden calf. And then he says something that should make your stomach turn. "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." The same gold they wore when God parted the sea for them. The same earrings they had on their bodies when they walked through on dry ground. Recast into an idol. Moses comes down the mountain, sees the calf, sees the dancing, throws the stone tablets and breaks them. Then he does something strange. He takes the golden calf, burns it, grinds it to powder, scatters the powder on the water and makes the people drink it. They swallowed their own idol. Then Moses stands at the gate of the camp and says, "Who is on the Lord's side? Come to me." The Levites come. Moses tells them to strap on their swords and go through the camp, gate to gate. 3,000 people died that day. Their own jewelry, their own gold, their own hands shaped it, and it killed 3,000 of them. Object number 4 is the quietest one. No plague, no dramatic confrontation. Just a slow, silent corruption that ruined a hero's legacy. Judges chapter 8. Gideon has just pulled off one of the greatest underdog victories in the Bible. 300 men with torches and clay jars against the entire Midianite army. God told him to shrink his army from 32,000 to 300, and with those 300, Midian fell. After the victory, Gideon collects gold earrings from the Midianite spoil. 1,700 shekels of gold, plus crescent ornaments, pendants and purple robes from the kings. And he makes an ephod. An ephod was a priestly garment, part of the high priest's sacred clothing. Gideon was not a priest. He had no business making one. But he set it up in his hometown of Ophrah. The text says it plainly, with no drama, no thunder, no plague, and all Israel whored after it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and to his family. That's it. One verse. One sentence. The man who tore down his own father's altar to Baal built a new idol trap out of victory gold. I don't know how this gets skipped in every sermon about Gideon's 300 men, but it does. The story everyone remembers is the torches and the jars. The story nobody finishes is the golden ephod that quietly destroyed everything he built. Reading Gideon's full story after only knowing the victory part is like finding your grandfather's diary and realizing the family version left out the last chapter. 4 objects. A garment buried under a tent. An ark captured as a trophy. A calf cast from earrings. An ephod made from victory gold. 4 disasters. Families destroyed. Cities plagued. 3,000 dead in one day. A hero's legacy rotted from the inside. But the 5th object is different. Because the 5th object was not pagan. It was not stolen. It was not made in rebellion. God himself told Moses to make it. God himself used it to heal people. And it still had to be smashed to pieces 700 years later. Hold that. Numbers chapter 21. The Israelites are in the wilderness, complaining again. God sends fiery serpents among them. People are bitten. People die. They come to Moses and say, "We have sinned. Pray to the Lord to take away the serpents." God tells Moses, Make a bronze serpent. Set it on a pole. Anyone who is bitten, if they look at it, they will live. Moses does it. It works. People bitten by the serpents look at the bronze snake on the pole and they survive. This was not an idol. This was a direct command from God, a tool of divine healing. The object was obedience made visible. Now fast forward about 700 years. 2 Kings chapter 18 verse 4. A new king sits on the throne of Judah. His name is Hezekiah, and the text says he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. He removed the high places, broke the sacred pillars, cut down the Asherah poles. And then this, he broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made, for until those days the people of Israel had been making offerings to it. It was called Nehushtan. Nehushtan. In Hebrew the word is almost dismissive. It means something like, just a piece of bronze. Hezekiah looked at an object that Moses made, that God commanded, that once saved lives, and he gave it a name that stripped it of all its false glory. Just bronze. Nothing more. That is the twist nobody expects. The most dangerous object on this list is not the pagan one, not the stolen one, not the one made in rebellion. It is the one that God himself ordained, that people slowly, quietly, over hundreds of years, started worshiping instead of the God who gave it. And that right there is the part that reaches across 3,000 years and lands in your living room. Because you and I both have things in our lives that once served a real purpose. Relationships, traditions, victories, memories, things that were good, maybe even God-given. But somewhere along the way we stopped thanking God for them and started clinging to them as if they were God. Hezekiah's courage was not in smashing a pagan idol. Any reformer could do that. His courage was in smashing something sacred. Something with history. Something everyone said, but Moses made that. And he said, it is Nehushtan. It is just bronze. 3 things to carry from this. First, not every object is neutral. Some things carry a spiritual weight that outlasts the people who made them. Second, it is not enough to avoid what is obviously evil. You have to be willing to examine what looks good, what looks sacred, what looks inherited, and ask whether it still belongs in your life. Third, the bravest act of faith is not always saying yes to God. Sometimes it is saying no to something that used to be from God but has become an idol in his place. Which of these 5 objects surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to go deeper, I already have a video on the Ark of the Covenant and what may have really been inside it. That one will change how you read the book of Exodus. If this taught you something, drop a like and subscribe. There are more stories like this one coming.